Your style is so much more than your technique. Your
Okay.
style is, do you turn the work in on time?
Yeah.
Are you a pleasant person to work with? Do you understand the brief?
Right.
That is your style. I mean, I
Okay.
really think that's why I have had such a successful career.
Today, I'm sharing my interview with Salli Swindell. We got a chance to chat about her beginnings at American Greetings, the origins of the community for illustrators she's built with her brother Nate, and what's next for the They Draw empire, as well as discussions on staying creative, the evolution of design fees in this industry, and what art directors really need to see from artists that they work with. So I'm really excited to share this with you. I just wanted to note that my sound wasn't quite as clear as Sally's for some reason during this interview, so I did try to adjust as best I could in editing, but there is a little bit of unevenness. Either way, I am hoping that you enjoy all the information that Salli has to share with us.
I am so excited to be meeting with Salli Swindell. She is a fabulous illustrator and she runs about 100 online businesses for illustrators. They draw and cook, they draw and garden, they draw and travel, and also more recently, illustrators for hire. Plus, she is a very talented illustrator in her own right. So I'm so excited to get a chance to talk with her today. Hi, Salli.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I was so excited to just wake up and know that this was the conversation I'm starting the week with.
It's a good Monday, right? First of all, so I read in I had to do my research by stalking you all over the place. And you started at American Greetings, right? For about 10 years, I think. So can you tell us how you got to there and why you moved on from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I graduated from the Columbus College of Art and Design, I was actually a fashion illustrator and had a job. Sometimes I share the full story, sometimes not. I think there's more exciting things to talk about, but I kind of got fired from my first job where I was doing some fashion work. I'm not going to get into it, like I said, but then I went, it's a good learning story though. Then I worked at the Cleveland newspaper doing fashion illustration, which was an amazing job. I loved it. I got to go to the stores, bring the clothes home. I'd photograph myself wearing them and do the illustration, but that paper folded, like literally. Then I worked at a textile studio doing colorways and learned a lot about repeats, and anything I know about surface design, I kind of learned there. And then I interviewed at American Greetings. When I first graduated from college, I was not confident enough to think that I could get a job there because I'm technically not an illustrator. I was a fashion illustrator. And the illustration crew where I graduated, they were really skilled. They were brilliant illustrators. And I mean, I still follow a lot of them now. But by this time I had a pretty good portfolio. I had some more confidence and I interviewed and I was hired as what was a line designer. So we were in charge of identifying trends and putting together an entire line. I was the everyday group. So we would do like the entire baby line and you'd have to balance and you'd set the style and match the editorial for every single card that went into the illustration studio. So I wasn't illustrating when I was there, but I just happened to be like in the best department to learn everything. We learned marketing, we learned editorial, we learned, the illustration groups, what they could do. So, I mean, talk about you just get it all. Yeah. And amazing friendships. The people at American Greetings, they're still, my best friends. And they are, I still live near American Greetings. So that was a great 10 years. I mean, 10 years of understanding product development and everything. But then I was pregnant, our first son was born, and I just quit. I really didn't have a plan. I tried to have a plan that they didn't agree with at American Greetings. They're like, no, you're not going to part-time, no. Yeah. So, and I was so exhausted, I didn't care.
10 years is a lot. Yeah, 10 years in any job is a lot, especially those kind of jobs that repeat kind of, right? Don't every year you have to come up with the same type of,
Yes.
themes and all that stuff. I worked in-house for apparel and for table linens, and it's like, for table linens it was always the markets. There's two home textile markets, and it's like getting everything ready for that, and like the fall push and the spring push, and apparel of course repeats too, so it can get repetitive.
Yeah. So again, I'm home with a newborn who's not sleeping much, but about 3 weeks after, I got a freelance job from American Greetings.
Perfect.
And I kind of had to remind him, I'm like, I technically wasn't in the illustration department. I was a line designer. And this woman, Patty Flato, she was the design director. She was like, oh, we know you can do this job. Just it's a quick chalk pastel, you can do it. And nothing was digital then. And I did it. And I call her Pivotal Patty because she has continued to be pivotal in my career, my life. We are the best of friends. As she moved on with her job, I kind of moved with her. So that day, 1993, was my first freelance job, and I have not been without one since.
Oh my gosh. That's
and
awesome.
it's just like the more time I had, the more work I got. I'm not really sure how it happened. And, back in the 90s and early 2000s, if you had a client and you turned the work in on time and did a good job, you kept that client because there was no internet to go finding more of us.
Yeah, I guess there's true. That's true.
It's so easy to just, it's gotten a lot more competitive now. It's gotten a lot easier to find talent, and it's, you really have to nurture those clients that you have. But it grew. I mean, I was ending up doing all sorts of fun, different illustration projects, and Pivotal Patty, just pivotal.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, well, that's good that you had that experience because, and my sister is a graphic designer, and she went freelance a couple years ago, or no, at this point, probably 5 years ago. And yeah, it just sort of came to her. I did not have as much of a time. That's what I thought it was going to be, sort of like easy, like, oh, the transition won't be too, I just need a couple clients and that'll be good. But I worked pretty hard to get, enough clients that I was working steadily, right? I mean, of course I did get a few clients, but it wasn't, it took a while to sort of build to build. So my sister's always like, oh, you work too hard. Like, you're always working to get more work. I'm like, well,
hey.
Nice that you and Pivotal Patty over there.
Oh,
I love that. So it's good.
Yeah.
It can be, and I've seen that with some other artists too, where they've been able to make that transition easily. And I'm like, good for you. Like, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Well, it was gradual, but I think the key thing was so many of my contacts from American Greetings, when they went elsewhere, they would call me because they're looking for freelance. They're looking for holiday handmade cards. And, I kind of fell into that, making handmade prototypes. And I made thousands of prototypes.
Oh my goodness.
I have since given that up because it was hard on your neck, your hands, your cutting. I was trying to replicate a laser die cut just for a prototype. These things were crazy, but I got in that little groove, and wow, there were just some, like 1 year in Target, my brother and I'll tell you about that in a minute. We became design partners, studio partners. And 1 year I went into Target at holiday, and 30 of our cards were unboxed designs.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And never could I pull that off today.
Amazing. Yeah.
But, we were in with companies that were big in Target, and it was just like, wow.
That's amazing.
This is cool. But the thing with Nate, we became studio partners. I'm trying to remember the exact year. Maybe early 2000s. And he was not trained as an illustrator, but he's very tech savvy, and he's very business smart, and he's just determined. I mean, determined and creative. So he taught me technical things because I'd just gotten my computer, and I taught him greeting cards and introduced him to clients, and, why you create a greeting card, all the ins and outs of greeting cards and illustration. And so when we started going to Surtex and the stationery show, we became known as the brother-sister design team.
I love that.
And that just became like the thing. People just thought, well, we kind of get 2 for 1.
Tell us a little bit more about that then. I was going to ask about, and maybe this next question, maybe this does kind of relate. So on your website, you say that you're an entrepreneur, which I really like, because I think we have a hard time, especially as artists and designers, thinking of ourselves as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. But of course we are, if we're not working in-house. And we have to put on that role, we have to put on that hat. And I think a lot of people have resistance to that label. So when you were, did you have like a turning point of, I'm a freelancer to I'm an entrepreneur, and did it have to do with that, joining of forces with your brother, or was it a, different time? Do you think that you sort of like realized that that was what you were?
I think all along, I would never say I'm an artist. I don't
Me
use
neither,
that.
Me neither.
I'm like, oh, no.
I'm a designer. I'm always say I'm a designer. Is that what you say?
I say I'm an illustrator.
Yeah, illustrator.
Because you are more of a designer.
A service pattern is sort of, and also whatever. I'm not quite an illustrator either. Yeah, so I never say artist either. That's so funny.
Yes. And that, and I don't always say I'm creative. I say I'm clever. I don't know. That's a whole other topic, but like when I am doing something and I can't pick a font, I ask Nate because he's a designer.
I love that. Okay.
And Nate's the one, when I built out that website, he sort of helped me with how can I put all the things I do into one website? So he's like, entrepreneur, that happened when we started They Draw and Cook. Right. Before that, I was a freelance illustrator running an illustration practice.
Right.
Paying my quarterly taxes, filling out the forms, the invoices. And then when we started They Draw and Cook, a couple things happened. It was a financial risk. I mean, those sites did not come for free. Mm-hmm. And we were putting a lot of time into building this community. And it's a business. It was a new business, literally not happening too much on the internet. Food illustration was just beginning. So,
and I think in what, like mid 2000s? Is that true?
That was the idea came to us in 2009, launched in 2010. We had our first book by 2011. So it all happened like overnight. It feels like.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It was exciting. It was the same platform that we had from the very beginning. Is still, every decision we make is based on, does this promote and showcase illustrators all around the world? That's the bottom line. That's the goal. That's it. So if everything we do doesn't answer that, we don't do it.
I love that. Well, that makes it simple to say. That's a simple yes or no thing, right?
Yes. Such a strong mission statement. Yeah. And it happened like the very first recipe we got from someone who was not a friend or family member. That's where the decision, it happened right when that recipe came in, because we had started out with these 8 fully illustrated recipes by professional illustrators. And it kind of caught on, and like 2 days after it launched, Nate gets a email in his inbox, because this was a blog platform when we first started.
Right. Okay.
So everything filtered through Nate's email. He set up Excel spreadsheets. He's nerdy that way, which is such a good thing to have in a business partner.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's not me. He does the taxes and all that now. But we get an email from a woman. She's like, oh, I see you have this blog called They Draw and Cook. Here's my recipe. And it was a red bowl of M&Ms. And it said, if you want to have a party, put M&Ms in a red bowl. And we were like, I'll have that party. I mean, but it was and she wasn't a professional illustrator. It was a fun illustration. And we thought, right here and now, are we curating this site, or is this for everyone? And we're like, it's for everyone. We have been so fortunate in our careers. This is a chance for everybody to be there and to show up at the party and to come to the creative playground. And And it was that moment. And it was like 2 days after we launched the whole site. So
the original plan, the original idea was that it was going to be illustrations that you guys commissioned, or what was before?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that people would come to it and see the beautiful recipes and also try them out. Like, I'm trying to understand what the original plan was, because now we know what it is that everyone gets to,
The original plan was that we didn't have a plan. We had,
okay.
we have never, you know, Nate and I say we've never had an argument, and we've never really sat down and had a business plan. Even when we became studio partners, it just sort of happened, and the momentum kept going. And with They Draw and Cook, it happened on a family vacation. Nate was cooking this great dinner and I was drawing the crate of fresh figs, and it just dawned on me, I'd never illustrated food, and I wanted to illustrate food. So I said, we should do, for our client gift this year, we should do an illustrated cookbook. We'll just illustrate recipes, because we do have this big thing about illustration needs to be purposeful.
Yeah.
Serves a purpose. Like, if we just send out a book of our work, it's just a book of our work. But if it's a book of illustration, of recipes, then they're getting something to use.
Yeah.
So Nate's like, well, and this was the brilliant thing. He said, what if we invite other illustrators to contribute? Because then the book will be a whole lot more fun, more variety, and all of our work will go to all of our clients. So we've just like expanded our exposure. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. See, that's Nate. He always takes my idea and just makes it like that much better.
Kicks it up a notch, yeah.
Yes, amps it up. So, you know, we're trying to put this little book together, and one illustrator just never got his in on time. Christmas came and went. You would probably know who the illustrator is. I won't say it now. And we always say, if he ever submits it, we're gonna have a big party. So Valentine's rolls around, and Nate's like, we have these 8 great illustrations that are sitting, no one's seeing them. I'm just going to put them on a blog, name it They Draw and Cook, and that was it. He hand wrote They Draw and Cook, put them up, and he was like, yay, done. Like, tick my box. I've got these out in the world now.
And
then
it snowballed, right?
If you remember blogs in the, you know, early mid 2000s, they were the thing, and those. Yeah. Everybody put them on their blogs, and that thing just took off.
That is incredible. And then you started building that, you know, then you added into it and then travel was next?
Yes, travel was sort of the obvious next thing. And Nate, his entire career is now map illustration, which is exciting. I mean, it completely turned his career around. Wow. Now he's a map illustrator, and a very successful one. And the thing we did, though, when we got the book deal, we had a pretty nice advance, and we just took that money and built the blog into the big first interactive website. And that was a big moment. You know, we've had a couple big redesigns since then, but that was, you know, all right, this is a business. We're taking the money from our business and we're putting it right back into the business. And it's, every year we just, what are we going to do? Are we going to keep it going? And this year we are like keeping it going big time.
At this point in your career, besides the websites, you said that your brother does like all map illustration. Where are you in illustration? Do you do you license your art? Do you do commissions? What kind of illustration do you work on, or do you just work on the businesses?
No, I'm still doing both. I'm still juggling a lot. I have shifted a lot of my energy to building the communities. And right now it's not about monetizing them. It's about, we're still in like building strong communities. Yeah. And we'll figure some other parts out as we go. I still illustrate greeting cards. I just finished illustrating a book. And I think I've done some fun like poster work, things that are a little outside of what I normally do. I keep trying to get into surface design, and I just can't quite get in there. I don't know. It's one of those things that's just always eluded me a little. I've done some, but not a lot. That's why I completely changed my patterns section on my website, because I'm like, I'm putting up the kind of patterns I'm working on now because I want something to happen with them. But I will do flat fee, work for a flat fee. Licensing, royalties. I did an illustration for a popcorn tin about 6 years ago that is just
You're still getting royalties on it?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
and
nice.
when I get them,
good ones.
I mean, it's kind of become like friends and family are like, what? I'm like, I know the design was really fun to do. Really, I did it really quickly. You had the idea, and you don't know how that goes. Sometimes you just get it down and it's easy, and the client was like happy. But that came from this wasn't a client I had. I just got an email one day. I saw your work. Would you be interested? We'll pay $500 up front, and could you give us a sketch? And I'm like, sure, I'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still paying out. I love that.
Yeah, that's kind of a good lesson to don't just toss those aside.
Yeah.
Because I was actually happy with the 500 for the work I did. I was thinking, if this makes no more money, this 500 I am A-okay with it. And it's lots more than 500 at this point.
That's the licensing dream, right? Unfortunately, the licensing dream does not live out very often, it seems like, or I mean, I think people do have that success, but I think people talk about it a lot more of like, oh, you're going to have this art that just keeps paying off and paying off and paying off. And, I think I do have some art that continues to, people keep being interested or relicensing or whatever, but then I have so much art that no one pays any attention to. So it's like,
yeah. And you know how it works. If you're doing something for Christmas, like when people do calls for content, and I'm like, well, I'll put my effort into Christmas and birthday. Or sympathy. I have made so much money on sympathy cards that are royalty. But a lot of times I'll sell greeting cards for a flat fee. Yeah. Because I think a St. Patrick's Day isn't going to get me this much anyway. So
good call.
I'm not as precious about my work in the ways I sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you work fast and you like what you're doing and you have so many ideas, you know what that's like.
That's what I feel like. Yeah, totally. I know some people are very, I have to keep my rights all the time, and like I won't sell it outright, but I always say kind of like, you don't expect your plumber to make the same, I'm just going to fix the toilet once and get paid every month when it keeps working or whatever.
That's a good way to frame it up. Exactly.
Very classy, but you know what I mean? Like I'm a commercial artist, I get paid to design. Like, of course I would love to, if everything could be royalties and the royalties were good, that sounds great, but sometimes you just do it and get paid for it once. So
yeah, and sometimes you need to get paid for it once because those royalties are a year away.
Exactly.
So it's nice to have like, some of those other incomes kind of trickling in. But
that's what I mean. I do freelance work as well. So even without my name attached to it, I'm doing it behind the scenes. So so let's talk about then, so you guys started all these They Draw Ands and started featuring other illustrators. And now you guys have started Illustrators for Hire, which is another showcase platform for illustrators, but very specific to come and hire me. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that actually started from something we started on They Draw and Cook. We started getting emails from artists saying, hey, an art director saw me on your site and hired me for something. And we're like, awesome. That's great. Yeah, that's the way the world should work. Yeah. And vice versa. Art directors were contacting us saying, I'm looking for an artist that does this or that. We're like, okay, we've always known we do not want to be art reps. I am not managing contracts.
Yeah.
And It's
a
not
lot.
our
It's a
thing.
lot.
I can't even imagine it.
No, I know.
Cannot even imagine.
Sometimes people say I should be an I'm like, what? Me? Are you kidding me? I don't know where you're getting this idea.
Isn't that interesting? Same,
Yeah,
exact
I have no idea
same.
why. I don't know if it's just because I talk a lot.
Well, it's because, I like supporting other artists. That's genuine. But I don't want to deal with your finances.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't want to deal with if you didn't turn something in on time. Like, that's sort of my big thing. And I hope we get back to the style question after this.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So They Draw and Cook, I'm like, Nate, what if we just see if we could have illustrators we could make a page of their badges. They create a badge that reflects their style and it links directly to their website. And we would charge a small fee. And even if only 10 people sign up, we'll try it. Well, a lot of people signed up, and for a couple of years it kept running until one day Nate's like, our site was not designed to accommodate this. Our site was designed to showcase illustrations. Like, we are not doing justice to these illustrators on the page. They don't have a profile page. They're not, he's really, really, really big on search engine optimization. So he's like, we're not really helping. Let's build out a brand new site just for this. And he was able to build out the new site. We didn't have to hire out on that one. And he says, we'll build it so that it's optimized. I mean, I'm like fudging the words here. I don't really understand what he's really good with this stuff. And he's really good with, I come up with an idea and he builds a whole program around it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it sounds like I need him as a business partner too.
Every single interview I say everyone needs a Nate. I'm so fortunate. And he never complains. And he's really, really smart. So things that would have stopped me way earlier, he's like, no, I know I can figure this out. And I'm like, good, because I don't have the interest. So he built out Illustrators for Hire, and this is more curated. We made kind of the big things we need from the people on the site is they have to be professional illustrators. We want art directors to be assured that if they hire someone, this person isn't just stepping into the role. They know how to invoice, they know deadlines, they know how to deliver the work and the kind of files. So that was a big criteria. You need to have a website and you need to have clients.
Yeah.
And we capped it at 200 because more than that would be not manageable for me to fully promote everyone. And it would be a little overwhelming for art directors,
right.
Scroll.
That's true, yeah.
And the variety just sort of happened naturally. We have all sorts of disciplines and specializations, and it is becoming, just another business, a very full-time business. I mean, I know these illustrators well. I know their websites. I know their Instagram. Yeah.
I know. Well, that's what and Illustrators for Hire, looking through, it's like, you have some amazing illustrators, some that are, like my friends, and some that are like, I look up to so much. And, obviously you guys are, and I also am, and hopefully most people are at this point, a believer in the adage of, community over competition, right? And,
yes.
How have you seen by lifting up other artists and showing off other artists, how has that, benefited you? Is it weird to say like benefited you directly, but I mean, like, how has that like grown your own career or sort of added to what you do?
Yeah. No, that's a good question, because these sites, like I said, were expensive to build, and the money did not come directly. It came very indirectly. Like, we got book deals that I don't think no one would have known who we were.
Right.
Our whole, we were lifted because we had these big communities and a lot of followers and big newsletter distributions and, all the numbers things. So if we were hired to do something and we agreed to promote it, we had a big audience to promote to. Right. But it's just, I've learned so much from the people in this community. I mean, just about illustration, businesses. There's some people that really, make it part of their practice to share business things like you, and others that just have figured out how to hone in on their style and how to branch off into other areas, you know, like you said, like Etsy and all these other places that they're going to monetize their business. So I think it's extended our platform to make it even bigger. I mean, we have a bigger presence in the illustration world, which is a good thing. And it's just naturally, I love promoting illustrators. I mean, even if it means
you get to look at, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, you see so much, and you know, we don't have like nasty things happening on Instagram. Everybody is so nice in this community.
I know. Well, surface, I say that about surface pattern, but I mean, it's pretty, at this point, there's kind of a blurred line in some of the illustration versus surface pattern, but yeah, you know, it's true. We do have very, you know, a good community, good artistic community.
Yeah, and they support each other, which is like, wow, look at this. And then it becomes like a challenge. What are some more ways we can promote this group? Like, this is now how, you know, back to when you were a product designer in-house, you had to brainstorm things. Like, how many brainstorm sessions did you go to? So now this is what I brainstorm. New ways to promote this group. And if it's sometimes come at the cost of me losing a client because I introduce them to other illustrators, and that's all right. You know, I'm shifting my focus. I'm doing personal projects, and you know, right now it is about building these communities and sort of, you know, I have clients that I will always do work for. So
I love your illustration style. I'm so obsessed.
Oh my gosh.
I think I DM'd you a couple, like maybe a year ago, because like I've always known about they draw and cook and travel and all that, but you know, I never dug into the individuals behind it. And then I don't know what it was that I like was looking up your Instagram, and then I was like, oh my God, I just love it. Like, it's so cool.
Jeez, thank you.
So speaking of that, you have a very defined style, you know, well, very defined. I mean, you know, pretty defined style, it seems like. And I love that in the Illustrators for Hire website, you have a sort of a guides to like how to apply to Illustrators for Hire, and you give some tips to artists about what they, you know, what you expect from them, like you said, for them to have clients and that, or, you know, have a bit of an established career already. And one thing you suggest is that they have a pretty defined style so that an art director knows what they're getting into when they hire that illustrator. And I love that. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I know that that's advice that a lot of people give. And I also know that a lot of newer artists feel this like pressure to figure out what's my style, what do I like to do, what I don't know, I can't see, you know, people have a hard time seeing their own work, you know, with objective eyes, whereas something like one of us might look at their work and say, oh, well, yeah, you do have a through line of this type of, you know, whatever, this type of line work or whatever it is. But new artists have you know, that's like a stressful thing. And as someone who has worked in-house and has had to do a lot of different styles, and I still say I don't really have a defined style. I like to kind of go off the rails sometimes. I'm sort of like, you're okay, don't stress out. Like, you'll get there, but also you don't need a style. So let's debate it.
Yeah, let's go here, because that's so funny. I don't think I have a style.
Of course. Well, that's
here we go. I think I have, all my work looks like me. I mean, looks like the same person did it.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes
that's a style, you know, I mean, that's.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm adding texture, sometimes I'm not. Everything sort of leans to the right when I draw it, and I don't draw exceptionally well, which is part of my style now. But Nate and I were talking about this because you know, when I read that we were going to discuss this, I'm like, let's go down this road.
Yeah.
Because I think he said, and I agree, one thing for sure, don't put on your website something that's a one-hit wonder. If you cannot do that, again, do not put it on your website.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you have a style that's more graphic and you have one that's maybe more illustrative, just group them so that they sit together. So it shows you can do that style more than once.
Don't put up the one oil painting you did in a community class that is like so gorgeous with the
Yes.
It was like,
yes.
I don't do oil paintings, but I did that one time. Okay, that's a fair one.
So just make sure that if you've got more than one sort of style, show the art director that you can do it more than once. You know, put up collections, or in Nate's case, he just has like so many different websites for his own work. You know, one is all for maps. One is his website that has his teaching platforms or different things that he does. But some people's style is so specific that they have only like 4 colors they use.
Yeah, I know.
So some people are like, that's great.
Yeah.
But if that's not what an art director wants, moving on. Because like you, I actually think I built my entire career on being so versatile, because an art director could say, well, we need all these different looks in the line. Can you do all of them? Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, so I'm doing like a gestural line here. I'm doing a graphic Christmas tree here. I'm doing a cute bunny here.
Yeah. That's what you need to do if you're working in-house, or if you are freelancing for a company that does, you know, sells to a lot of retailers or whatever it is. They need to produce different styles, and you know. Yeah.
Yes. So that the thing I get really big on is your style is so much more than your technique. Your style is, do you turn the work in on time?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Are you a pleasant person to work with? Do you understand the brief? Right. You know, that is your style. I mean, I really think that's why I have had such a successful career, because there are so many illustrators who are so expert in so many things, but I do get things done on time. And maybe a few times I've been a pain to work with, but sometimes I couldn't help it.
Bad day.
Yeah,
you know.
bad day. But I think that is so much a part of it. Your style is not just your artistic aesthetic.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I can get behind that.
Especially for people that are just coming in. Yeah. People that are just starting out, you know, you need to build that relationship really strong from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like it was interesting when you were saying this at the beginning about in the 90s, or that without the internet, you know, you would have repeat clients because there was nowhere else to look. But I think, you know, I think that is a little bit of the benefit of some of the product line stuff that we do. Maybe for editorial illustration, it might be different. But for things like greeting cards and things that come out, you know, quarterly, and, you know, you have these product lines going back to the same person that, you know, already knows how to create these products is, you know, I mean, pretty much all of my clients are repeat clients. Like, I don't have anyone who's like just come to me for one thing and then I've never seen again, really. And I think with a discipline like graphic design or something, it might be like, if you're designing a logo, how often do you need a logo? So you have to find a lot of people who need a logo. But especially for product-based art, I think, you know, that's just a continual cycle. And so getting into the groove of that product takes a little time, and art directors don't want to kind of retrain people. It's like a greeting card. It's like, okay, fine. It's just paper. Like, it's not that complicated, but there is, like, you know, embellishments and tip-ons and all that kind of stuff. And like knowing that language and knowing that those intricacies and understanding what a laser cut is and all that kind of stuff, that is knowledge to bring to the table, that if you have to learn that from, you know, an art director, then they don't want to teach that to someone new every 2 months or whatever. So
and then add on top of that, is this person going to deliver on time?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, it's, you know, it's funny because a greeting card doesn't seem like it's that involved, but holy cow.
Of course, there's so much to do. And also every different company probably has a different way to set things up. So it's like, you might know what a laser die cut is, but what does that template look like? You know, what do you have to do with your art file to make that correct for their manufacturers, etc. So there is a lot to it.
And every company has sort of their different mission statement. Like we're the fashion-y greeting card company. You know, we're doing like super on-trend, super edgy, whereas some are more traditional. And you need to do your research if you're going to enter that market. Like, where do you fit? I mean, there's an like up with paper. You know, can you envision how these things fold and pop up? And
yeah, it's true. It's true. And so when you start working for one of these companies, it's getting to know what works for their customer and their product line. Because I know I mean, I work with a few stationery companies, and each one has a different thought. They're looking for a little bit of a different vibe. I know what's going to be like a slam dunk with them versus like, oh, that's nice. I like the idea, but it's not quite what our customer is looking for. So that is the thing that it's, for new artists out there who are watching this and like, I don't know what die cuts are. I don't know what they're Don't stress out. It's not that is not the thing. But my point of saying all that is that once you learn that, first of all, do try to learn as fast as you can when you get in there. Ask a lot of questions, and that's okay. But also, that is something that makes you valuable. So keep up with it, learn it, and then don't ask the same question the next time because you figured it out. Or you can ask a clarifying question, but don't like act like you've never heard of this before when they come back to you the second time, right? That's what.
And also for people that are kind of new to the industry, if you send work out and it doesn't get picked up, like I say, there's so many reasons. Sometimes it has nothing to do with your work.
This is 100%. This is like a main talking point of mine.
Yeah,
feel like they're rejected and it's not good enough. It's like, no, it has nothing to do.
If you did like a cute animal riding a carrot for Easter, a cute little bunny in a carrot car, well, it's probably wonderful, but maybe they just have one in the line.
Yeah, exactly.
In their planogram, and they don't need to.
Planogram. Okay, so now I know you're my in-house soulmate, right? Because that's what I'm always trying to describe this, and I'm thinking the word planogram, but I don't use it because most people don't, But I'm like, they just green and you're giving them blue, and I'm thinking about the planogram.
And you can't have 3 red cards sitting next to each other.
Absolutely not. That's gonna look horrible.
I know. I just think, oh my gosh, this kind of talk makes me like almost want to go right back in.
I don't know. But planogram, for those who are like, what are these people talking about, is like the sort of the graph or the version of what the shelf is going to look like. So if it's placemats, if it's greeting cards, it's like where each card is going to be when you go into the store. So as she was saying, you wouldn't want to have 3 red cards right next to each other and then no red cards in the rest of the shelf. That would look very strange. You'd see this block.
Yes. And it's all a balance. Mm-hmm. If they've already got too many wife birthday cards.
Those are things that buyers have to consider. And so your artwork is just, does it fit in the slot that we've got open or not? And it's not about the quality of the work so much of the time. So
right. And as you know, with greeting cards, you need to make a connection with someone. The visual on the card will usually be the thing that draws someone to pick that card up. If they see, I always use this example, if they see a card with sushi and they have a friend that they always go out every Thursday for sushi, they're going to come to that card and be like, oh, my friend and I love sushi. I'm going to buy this for my, that kind of incremental sale. They didn't go to buy that card, but they picked up that card. Yeah, it's like a shared experience you have with someone. It resonates with the two of you, and it's this little connection, and you're letting her know, you pay attention to her. Like, there's all those little things.
I love that. You just actually finished a challenge on Instagram, which was 7 days of rainbow foods and flowers for both. They draw and cook and they draw and garden, and like all the red foods and all the orange foods. Yes. And it was gorgeous. And you did an amazing job. I saw so many other artists using that hashtag and doing beautiful work. And I also know that you do Stay Colorfully Creative is a hashtag that you use. And so you have these different Instagram challenges. I'm always seeing this work coming out of you that's so creative and fun. And I'm wondering, tell me all your secrets. What advice would you give to someone who is trying very, very hard? I don't know anyone particular like this, but who's trying to stay creative and inspired when it is difficult to do that sometimes.
Yeah. My thing is just stay in motion.
Yes. I like
Just keep doing something, even if like some days all I can really get out is a little color palette.
Yeah.
Like that's all I have in me. And I do try to share work every day.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'll hear from a couple people. You're always the first thing in my feed. What are you doing? I'm like, they're like, are you sick?
Oh my God, they're keeping you to it. Oh, wow.
Like, no, I've got these challenges. You don't know what your audience is looking for until you toss something out. I mean, this is Nate and I, we just sort of like put stuff out there and see what happens.
I love that.
And I mean, we really aren't like, there's no big business here to how this happens. There's a big business to what we're doing, but these challenges just became, it's just like, let's see who's paying attention almost. Is anybody even, other than just like, scroll.
Yeah.
So the first one, well, what we're trying to do with our new site, this is kind of a nice segue,
Perfect.
right? When we first started, our entire community, everything was on our website because Instagram didn't exist. We had Facebook and we have a lot of followers on Facebook, but we don't even engage with Facebook anymore. Yeah. I think something automatically links there, but so we had this community that was having conversations right there on our site, comments, back and forth. And then Instagram happened. So we're like, woo, shiny. So we start populating Instagram. But, the size of our websites is this long horizontal format.
Yeah.
And it's not Instagram friendly. And it does not do the art justice.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So it was like, dang. So now Instagram, we don't often share, there's content on our site, and on Instagram, we kind of have a whole other business on Instagram. So we're trying, what we're doing with the new site is we're expanding what you can draw, they draw, and so now it's going to be like they draw. So it'll include cook, travel, garden, and then as we move forward, we'll introduce more. But we're changing up the size to give people more options.
Okay, yeah.
Because so many people, we thought it was just a nice challenge, that size. Like, it's the only thing we're asking of you.
Yeah.
Is to work in this size. But people were like, So we're going to offer up different sizes so that we can use all the content from our own site on Instagram. Right. I no longer have to really rely on, if you're not on our site, chances are we won't be featuring you on Instagram. Like, we're trying to keep the party in one place.
Right.
And that's because who knows how long Instagram will be around.
Right.
I mean, I just can't like put everything in that one basket. As fun and addictive as it is.
Yeah, no, you can't. You have to have your own setup. So then instead of the long horizontal, it's going to be a new dimension that's like shorter and easier to share on Instagram? Is that what?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a couple sizes. We're going to keep that long one because it's what fits into a book.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And then we'll have a square, and I think we'll have another more like a greeting card proportion. Mm-hmm. It's right now, like the web team is sort of busy figuring out all these things, and Nate's so good with this. Yeah. I mean, I just sort of answer yes or no's or my ideas, but he's like in there like nitty gritty figuring this out. But the Instagram challenges, you know how this goes. You put it out, and the next morning you wake up and you're like, what? The feed is flooded. The hashtag is happening. And I get so, like, I'm almost hyperventilating. I get so excited, like, oh, look at who created it. Look at this. Oh my God. How do people think of all these things? Because the prompts are pretty open, and I follow Still Life, Still Here, Still Life. Do you know that prompt? It's someone sets up a photograph. Every week they have a photo, and then illustrators illustrate their version of it. It's genius. I'm obsessed with the idea. It's such a simple idea, but they've done it so brilliantly. And all the really top good players are in that playground doing amazing things. So I see so much coming in, and I'm like, I got to feature this. So I decided to do 3 things a day so the people that come to the party later still have a chance of getting featured, 10 illustrators per thing. So, I'm on my phone. I'm like, I mean, my hand, I was like, I couldn't move one day. My shoulder locked. I was like, oh my goodness. But it's just so fun to see all this art and figure out the best way to put it together. So for the rainbow one, I'm like, I can't do this for a full month right now because it's intense. Yeah. So I'm like, 7 days, what could fit into a week? Well,
perfect.
Roy G. Biv.
There we go. So perfect. Oh, it's so beautiful. You guys have to check it out. I'll put the information in the description. Obviously, I'm going to put Sally's information too, and all the they draw ands. But I'll put the challenge information just so you can check the hashtag and see all the work that has come out, because it is really gorgeous.
And the Stay Colorfully Creative hashtag, I started that a few years ago just to get through an Ohio winter, which can be brutal. And this wasn't even the lockdown winter. I was like, I have got to figure out a way to gracefully move through these next couple months. So I did 100 days of staying colorfully creative. And when you get into these things, as if you're a planner, you make a hook. Everything has a reason. Everything's got a purpose. It's like well packaged creativity.
Yeah.
And so that has become sort of that's my mantra.
I love that.
Every day.
I love that. All right, now we're going to dig into my last set of questions, which is, I'm always trying to make clear the financial realities of this business. It's all well and colorful and beautiful, but, so many people getting into this business need to know what's actually going to happen with their finances and all that stuff. So my first question is, do you earn the bulk of your income from creating art and selling it, or running your communities?
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, we are in community building mode. Mm-hmm. Illustrators for Hire has helped us pay because the people have to pay to be on that site. Mm-hmm. And that has helped us put the money from there. Since Nate built that website, we don't have to pay a web team. Mm-hmm. So the money we're making there, we're putting into our rebuild of They Draw, Cook, Travel, Garden, all of that, which this is the biggest upgrade we've done. These sites cost us hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month to run. I mean, that's not our time at all. That's just running these sites, having that space on the internet.
And the because there's so much file sizes and all that stuff, like heavy duty files of art files and stuff, right?
Yes. And this is built out by a team in Chicago, Neoteric Design. And they're just a brilliant company they've been with us since the beginning. That's the first place we went. And they understand the creative process. They understand the back-end mechanics, because these sites are hefty. They're chunky. There's like a lot of behind the scenes things going on.
Yeah.
And I'm always afraid when I'm in there making changes that I'm going to delete an entire, no. And newsletters, they're not cheap. The monthly MailChimp is not cheap. So the money we take from Illustrators for Hire, we put over here. It took us 3 years to make a profit when we first launched They Draw and Cook and Travel. And the profit was $11.50, and we had to split it between the two of us. So we each got $5. Plus. It was $11, $5.50 each. So this is definitely long game. Yeah, we're in this for a while now that we're doing the big one. So again, the money I've been getting some good royalty checks from projects, but I've also been doing some flat fee projects. And I'm not out there searching for clients right now. I'm not in that mode. Right. I was in that mode like 90s, early 2000s. I was at trade shows. I was, cold calling, emails, PDFs, packages. And I just don't have time to do it all. So I'm shifting my focus, because for me right now, it is really fun to promote and develop these other sites and these other illustrators. And that gives me time. Like I've turned in my 21 days of what did I call it? Good eating. One of the challenges in January of good health into a vegan cookbook.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to print that, and all the proceeds are going to go to a hunger bank. And so it's nice just to have these projects that I'm my own art director. There's a lot of stress coming from other places. And right now I don't want that stress to be in what I'm creating for someone else.
I love that. So just having that balance makes it doable. I love that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for people out there just starting, you could hit the ground running. Like, I don't know what the formula is. Some people catch on like this.
Yeah.
And others, I'm just like, I don't know why you're not getting more work.
I know.
But you have got to get yourself out there in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to be part of a lot of communities. You've got to go check. You got to do the work. You need to go to those websites, send in those submission forms. And again, his thing is, it's not about you finding art directors. It's about art directors finding you.
Yeah.
If your website isn't optimized,
Totally.
you're just not really helping yourself.
Totally.
So
yeah, I agree. And also I feel like don't sit and expect them to come to you anyways, because it is unlikely that your website is going to be so perfectly optimized that they're going to like run into you. You also need to be out there like trying to grab said attention, and
yeah.
And reaching out too, because I know some people like, I've been posting on Instagram for a year, how come I don't have a job? It's like, well, okay, that's good luck.
Yeah, but and like newsletters, people don't even think, well, like, newsletters are great. You've got to come up with a good one.
Yeah.
It's use that vehicle. There's so many different ways, because not everybody can go on and teach. I would be a horrible Skillshare teacher.
Yeah.
I like doing like tutorials where I kind of screen grab and post them for free.
Yeah.
I just like don't want the stress of people paying and then saying, well, I didn't learn anything. There's so many things I'm just like, I'm just not up there at the moment. I'm doing all this. But some people are great. Like when I see people's careers having totally shifted to teaching, I'm like, thank heavens, that's an outlet.
Yeah, totally. There are so many different ways to sort of build your career. And, I think that it's tricky with teaching and challenges and stuff like that, because I think new artists they see that the people that they look up to have shifted from doing more art to doing different type of businesses, communities, memberships, courses, tutorials, whatever, all the different things that you can do. And it kind of gives the impression that it's not sustainable to just be an artist, which isn't true,
Right.
I went into teaching as a part of it is being scalable, because I was at capacity with client work and the money was fine, but I wanted to make more and I wanted to work less. So I was like, okay, teaching is a little bit more scalable. Am I working less? Ask me. But
no, I was going to say, I doubt that.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm doing less artwork, but I'm not working less because I'm doing all kinds of other stuff to sort of build the teaching thing. However, it is at least scalable. At some point, it will hit a tipping point, and hopefully I will be doing the same amount of work, but it will start growing exponentially at some point, hopefully. Maybe it's going to be next week. I don't know. Let's find out. So anyways, but you can have an art career and just do art. You don't have to do all the things. When we talk about diversified income, that can be not just working as an art licensing artist, but also doing freelance or doing Etsy shops or doing Spoonflower, but it can still all be based on your artwork. You don't have to start an empire, so.
No, because that's impossible for many people.
Yes, it is. And if you haven't done the artwork for a while, what are you going to base it on anyways, right? Well, I mean, I don't know if you have a different skill set, but I mean, people who Skillshare is one thing because I think it's pretty low pressure, but people who haven't, been in the industry for very long, teaching a class that's, a bigger kind of class, that it depends on what it is. And, not that everyone doesn't have something to teach, but, you have to have some of that experience to build towards that. The other question I had is, over your career, how long have you, what have you seen as far as artist fees evolving? And what I kind of mean by that is, a greeting card that you sold in 1993 versus a greeting card that you sell now. Obviously, your experience has increased, but let's say someone with a similar experience level as, two people who have a similar experience level from, in the span of 20 years. Do you think that has changed a lot? Has licensing royalties changed? What have you seen? This is a hard question. I just was.
Yeah, I don't see, the royalties, 5 and 8% has been 5 and 8%, but the products cost more. So that money is more. And, that's going to bring you in more. But I do think greeting cards, flat fees have gone up. But again, I've worked with so many different companies, and some of them were so vastly different. Vastly different in what the pricing was. And I would say one of my best years was maybe early 2000s. I think companies had the money. They were aggressively getting product in shops. So I was getting a lot of like an assignment for 1 month would be 45 cards.
Oh my God.
And, so a lot of things were on bulk. I could not possibly do that work now. And I was doing everything either by hand or, eventually Illustrator, like Procreate now I'm addicted to.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. But I think, I don't see a huge change.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's totally, I don't know.
But then again, have I all of a sudden started working in the puzzle market or I don't know. My royalty checks are not that much different than they were, say, 6-7 years ago.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good information. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that either. Well, certainly don't know from the 90s, but like even knowing when I was working in-house and the amount that, let's say, we would pay to buy artwork outright from a studio is still pretty much on par as what you're going to get if you're going to a studio now, from what I understand. So
yeah, I think it is.
Outright is pretty similar. So it's doesn't seem like suddenly, the value or what people are making is more and more. But I don't, I think there's a lot of talk in the licensing community about the 90s sort of being the heyday. And I think that's part of it is, people had the money. And also the length of time that a product was in stores was a lot longer. So it had the potential to get more, more royalty build up. And so, and also it seems like, because there was no internet, there was a little bit less competition, or there was less competition. So I always hear
I agree. The 90s.
So
yeah,
I was just curious of your take on that. So, all right, cool. And we already kind of talked about the diversifying of income. So I guess, is there anything else you wanted to, because I know you were saying that, was there anything else that you wanted to, we covered all?
Yeah, for people just getting started, I always say, don't like relax your expectations, because that's when something really good bubbles to the surface. Every morning when I sit down with my iPad, am I thinking I'm going to make something amazing? Oh, who wants that pressure first thing in the morning? And that's when sometimes just like the Dandelion series I started.
Oh, I love those.
That was really, I don't think that started out as a dandelion at all. But it was, I'm just sitting there and my mornings, that's what I do. I have like an hour or two before I kind of get in here and do the draw and cook stuff and start, all the work. It's just, I'm most creative, like definitely figure out when you're most creative and try to let that time be when you're actually creating. And then save your other times for more tedious work. But yeah, if I had the pressure of everything has to be a perfect illustration, nothing would happen any day ever again. So it's just like, and you have to be your own biggest fan. I say this all the time. That doesn't mean that you think you're better than everyone at all, because it's a big creative playground, but you have to like your work. If you don't like it, why do you think someone else will like it?
Right. Yeah. I love that. Great advice.
Yeah. I mean, just really, really, when you're done, like sometimes I'll be scrolling through Instagram on one of my accounts and I'll see my illustration pop up and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh, wait, that's mine.
She does great work. Oh.
But you still have to like what, at the end of the day, you want to like what you're doing. You don't want to sit there saying I'm a horrible illustrator. And Instagram can, you gotta be careful.
The comparison can.
And I know what times of day not to be on Instagram, because I know that I'm feeling like a little lack of energy. Like, don't do that to yourself.
Right.
Like what you do, know what your strengths are. If you have weaknesses, either work to build them or just embrace your strengths and don't look at them as weaknesses. I think there's a lot of mind work that goes into this business. A ton.
100%. Yes.
That could be a whole other conversation.
Sure is. Yeah.
Keeping yourself, and that's why I say, for me, I have to stay in motion. I just keep doing.
Same. That's that's where I'm at too. I'm all about just forward. Let's just move forward.
Are we related?
We might be. We really might be. It's true. Maybe this means that I can have Nate as my business partner as well.
Yeah, so I was going to say, maybe
the ultimate plan.
That is he makes life a lot easier.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for giving us a tour through your, career and telling us all about, how you have built things and giving us your insight into some of these issues, because it has been so interesting to hear. I will definitely, as I said, put all the links in the description, guys. Check out everything. If you haven't heard of They Draw and Cook, I don't even know what you're doing with yourself. Just go check it out. Draw some illustrations for them. And thank you so much, Salli.
Thank you. This was serendipitous. I was just like, okay, I've learned a lot here, and it's going to be fun to go on and promote all the things that you do for this community, because you do a lot. You do a lot.
Thank you.
There we go. So much great information. Thanks again to Salli. Be sure to check out her information below and follow me on Instagram at eSilverDesign, or subscribe to my Surface Pattern Boss Toolkit, which you can do at elizabethsilver.com.